Hello and welcome to this special broadcast. At the annual convention of the Indian automotive industry, Nitin Gadkari urged automakers to discourage the sale of petrol and diesel cars and also make vehicles safer and higher quality vehicles for all segments of the society. The industry, on the other hand, red flagged issues of deep structural slowdown in the industry even before the pandemic and the need for a long-term roadmap. We caught up with the new SIAM President Vinod Agarwal on the sidelines of this event. Listen in.
If you look at various sectors, we have already recovered quite a lot in some of the sectors. Like if you take passenger cars, we are already at 90% of the industry which were there in 2018-19. If you look at three-wheelers, there we are down quite a lot. In two-wheelers domestic, there also we are still down by 35% if you look at 21-22.
Right.
However, this year, first 4-5 months, we have seen good growth coming in both passenger cars as well as two-wheelers. My own take is that this year passenger cars may touch a new peak by 22-23. As far as commercial vehicles are concerned, we are still at around, last year we were at 70% of the earlier peak. And this year, first 5 months, we have seen good growth. Some of the segments of commercial vehicles are going to touch new peak. So therefore, I would say we are on the recovery path in all the segments. There are some headwinds in the lower price passenger cars or the entry-level motorcycles, because that is where the pain is slightly more.
Right.
But let's hope. I think we are on the right track.
Okay. One pain point for the industry that you would like to take up in your tenure with the government, which you feel is hurting or slowing down the growth of the industry?
I would say not the pain point. I would say the opportunities. There are going to be huge opportunities for the industry. If we look at the vision of government, the entire vision for the Amrit Kal for next 25 years, or 5 trillion economy within next 3 or 4 years, I think there are going to be huge opportunities for the industry. And we have to work very, very closely with the government of India, and we have to contribute in realizing that vision of government of India.
Right.
There is going to be tremendous movement towards alternate fuels, towards flex fuels, towards more ethanol blended fuels. There will be more electric technology coming in. There will be more and more movement towards gaseous fuels like CNG and LNG.
Right.
And so therefore, I think we are going to work very closely with the government.
Okay.
And when we move to the new technologies, or when we move to the new areas, there will be difficulties, but I'm sure we will manage those.
Okay. My final question, sir. Do you want a long-term roadmap, some long-term regulatory clarity from the government as well? Because a lot of these technology interventions, standards which come into effect from time to time, they create disruptions in terms of manufacturing timelines, regulatory costs. So would you want some sort of transparency, predictability in the way the technology roadmap will
Of course, that is always better if you get the clear roadmaps, and on that we will have very, very closer working with the government.
At the SIAM convention, electric vehicle makers also expressed concern about the implementation timeline of the new EV safety and testing norms. We caught up with Tarun Mehta of Ather Energy about the production ramp-up and also whether Ather will be able to meet the timeline of 1st October as far as the new EV testing and safety standards go.
Parikshit, our demand's been actually much higher for a long time. We've been massively supply constrained. But we are clear, we don't want to hurt unit economics to scale up supply chains unnecessarily. So we went down the harder path and we fixed component by component. We created alternates where it was required. We deepened relationships with the partners where it was possible. All in all, it took almost 9 months, as with any good process. And 9 months later, a lot of our issues are now way behind, significantly behind us. We're growing considerably. What's ahead of us? we are already now on a run rate of 10,000 units a month, and demand continues to be higher. So at every scale, demand is still higher than what we can supply.
So September onwards, 10,000 a month?
Almost.
Almost, yeah. And how much is your demand? How much would you be
Demand
able
is
to-
higher.
Percentage-wise, how much would you
Can't
be
say.
able to? Can't say.
Yeah.
Okay. In terms of future product launches, how many more can we expect with this fiscal, or are you going to go ahead with your latest offering for the moment and just concentrate on its rollout?
We're just going to concentrate on what we have. As an overall product philosophy, we like a tighter portfolio. We don't like the approach of a very wide portfolio, too many products, too many models, hundreds of variants. We think our approach is to take a few large, deep bets. So even next year, you will not see several models. You will likely only see one model. Now we are expanding what we offer. It's not just the vehicle. It's chargers, it's accessories, it's our software offerings are continuously expanding. What we're doing on UI, what we're doing on navigation, everything's expanding. So with that, we'll have a lot to bring out as fresh news. But at the vehicle level, it will still be limited things that we announce.
Right. Now coming back to the issue of profitability, by when do you think Ather will break even, will become profitable?
It's not happening this FI, in case that's in your mind. No, we'll not be profitable this FI. But it's, I would say in the next couple of years, it's almost certain to happen. Despite challenging macro situations and all the challenges we have had on commodities.
After the recent EV fires, a committee has recommended a new set of changes in order to vehicle testing. These new norms are proposed to come into effect from 1st of October. The industry has found several problems with this. What would be your thoughts and what would be your recommendation?
I think the government is right in asking for tighter quality from the industry. We were all expecting norms of some kind of kick-in. In fact, players like us have been at the forefront recommending the right changes to the government. We think, however, there is a timeline challenge. In an automotive industry, given the scale it operates at, I think the industry is going to stare at production stop for months if we just run into 1st October. So and obviously it's our responsibility as OEMs to help the government understand what is a reasonable time and maybe what's even an aggressive time, right? 1st October does seem like a difficult to pull off timeline for everybody.
At the same time, I'd like to ask you about some of the issues that we're seeing with the electric vehicle rollout all across the country. EV fires. There were almost 9 cases of EV fires between March and May this year. Recently we saw an explosion in an EV showroom.
Quite unfortunate.
That happened, as a result of which 8 people lost their lives due to smoke fumes as well. There are also investigations going on at the level of the Department of Heavy Industries against companies which are not meeting the FAME criteria, the domestic value addition criteria. Some FAME subsidies have been stopped as well. Now, what does this all show about the EV ecosystem, and what needs to be done from the industry's point of view? Is this a wake-up call?
What it shows is that this is a sunrise sector and there is a cold rush on and everybody wants to make a claim, right? Does not mean that everybody will be successful. That's all it means.
The commercial vehicle industry continues to see strong growth momentum. We caught up with Ashok, Leylands CTO N. Sarvanan, who said that the company is coming up with a range of LNG and electric vehicle options in the next 12 months. And Ashok Leyland is also working on both hydrogen fuel and hydrogen fuel cell vehicles for the future. Listen in.
We are looking at a good momentum, particularly in the heavier segment. It has been our forte. We're looking at larger tonnage trucks, both in the construction tippers and also in the haulage segment. I think the movement has been good in the heavier vehicles for us.
Right. Now, speaking about the push towards alternate fuel vehicles and electric, what is the percentage of CNG sales in your portfolio currently?
I think CNG has been, as you know, has been down for a couple of quarters because of the pricing challenge there. But at one point, the industry itself was seeing about a 50% market share in the ICV segment, the smaller trucks less than 16 ton. That's come down a little bit. It's about less than 10-15%. But what we are doing is not waiting for necessarily the vagaries of the market to drive the decision what we do. We actually develop the entire range of products.
And in terms of alternate fuel technologies, which are the fuels that you're working towards?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, unlike passenger cars, where there is probably a very, very solid roadmap to say from gasoline to maybe some CNG to EV, in the commercial vehicle it's a lot more challenging. It depends on the application. There are applications where battery electric vehicles also make sense in the smaller LCV segment, maybe even the mid segment of ICV, maybe even in the medium duty for short distances. There's also technologies like CNG, LNG, of course, depending on the range and so on. We're also starting to do seeing a lot of momentum, at least on hydrogen, right? Not necessarily happening at the ground, but at least a lot of talk about it being available.
What about electric vehicles, lithium-ion batteries? By when do you think you will be able to roll out a truck in that segment?
So I think we will definitely see in the next 6 to 8 months the lower end, the sub 2 ton and the less than 3.5 ton trucks coming out with the battery electric vehicle. The bigger, larger trucks.
So on last mile mobility?
Last mile mobility, absolutely. It's for last mile mobility. The larger trucks, I would say more than 7.5, 8, 10 ton to 16 ton. What you'll start seeing is not necessarily a full-blown launch. What you'll see is a lot of proof of concepts, a lot of pilot lots coming out over the next, I would even say 12 months. You'll see a whole variety of, not just battery electric, but you'll see a variety of fuel options being seeded in the market. And that is the way for us to learn. Not just in technology, but also in terms of what the customer actually wants in these technologies. Yeah.
Right. Now, also, so speak about 2030. What would be your product mix or your fuel mix by then?
No, I think if till 2020 things were very, very sort of boring in a sense, right? In terms of technology-wise, we do a lot of diesel, a little bit of CNG. 2020 to 2030 is a messy decade. We're going to have so many combinations of fuel. What will come out at the end of 2030? Not very clear. It, as I said, will be fragmented. There is no one clear winner. There will still be diesel in certain segments, we believe, especially where it is a very, very arduous applications, deep mining and so on. It could still be diesel will have a certain play. You will definitely see EVs come a long way, definitely in the bus segment. The intra-city bus segment will probably move to a large extent towards EVs. You'll also see a significant penetration in the light commercial vehicles. I mean, we are guessing at least 25 to 30%, maybe even larger, depending on how the supply chain works out, right, in terms of the battery electric vehicle. You will definitely start seeing inroads being made in hydrogen-based fuel. So we see actually a combination. We don't see a clear winner at this point.
On that note, we take a short break, but don't go anywhere. When we return, we get you a conversation with Shailesh Chandra of Tata Motors and Martin Schwenk of Mercedes-Benz. Welcome back. You're watching our special broadcast from the automotive industry's annual convention. Shailesh Chandra, the head of Tata Motors passenger vehicle and electric vehicle business unit, spoke to us about their festive strategy going forward, supply chain issues and the next EV launch as well. Listen in.
I would expect that by H1, the industry would have done about 1.8 to 1.9 million. And therefore, it is very much on track to do roughly 3.6 million, which would be the highest ever for the industry. The last peak was in FY19, which was 3.4. So I think it is pretty much on track. The demand remains strong. As you know, H2 is the period of festivities. It starts in October, and then the Q4 is also full of festivities. The demand has remained strong. New models which have got launched have got very strong response. And therefore, I expect that the momentum should continue. But it would be more retail growth that you're going to see in the H2. H1 was more about building channel stock also to support the festive season. And I think right now there are no negative indicators, if I have to use that word. But we should see more cautiously how Q3 beyond the festive season is going to play out. And then I believe that Q4 should be strong in any case.
About festive demand, how do you expect the festive season to be for Tata Motors? Any specific festive schemes or strategy?
So festive season looks to be going well, because this is after, I would say, 2 years that you have robust supplies. The last 2 festive seasons, the supplies were not, at same level at what the demand was. That time we had all this pent up and personal mobility also as the tailwinds supporting the industry, but you did not have the supplies. But this would be the first festive season after 2 years that you'll have sufficient supplies. So I believe that given that the industry bookings are very high and the channel stock is right now at the right level, I would say, what it should be ahead of the festive season, and also the October supplies are going to be robust. So all in combination, I think the industry is going to see a good festive season.
Right.
You talked about schemes, so selectively in certain models we are giving schemes to drive retails in those particular segments, and we are also going very region based because the festivities are strong in one region for a certain, like Durga Puja in East and Diwali is everywhere. So, but we are going very selective, region, product also very selective, but otherwise I think these are the schemes typically what you run.
Right.
And campaigns, of course.
Okay. So you have given us a sense earlier that you would be targeting the sale of 50,000 electric cars in this fiscal. If I were to ask you for your whole passenger vehicle segment, could you give us a number?
No, 50,000 is the aspiration and the target that we have kept for ourselves, so that electrification in India reaches a level which people really start seeing seriously and it becomes mainstream. It is less to do with the company, more to do with the category that we want the country to move fast towards. And I had stated in that light that this is something which as market leader with nearly 88% market share, we have to really bring the industry to that level. I can't share the overall numbers because it can be ultimately less or more. I don't know what number I state, and I don't want to create that kind of a confusion and pressure on the stakeholders. So I would just reserve, but you know, I've already told you that this industry would be 3.6. We have been trending about 14% market share. I think arithmetics can be done.
And in terms of your EV strategy, you're going to unveil an affordable EV priced lower than the Tigor EV, the Tiago. By when do we expect it to hit the market?
Let that be suspense till at least 28th is when we are going to announce the price and the booking dates and delivery dates. So I'll just hold, and you should all of us should hold the horses at this stage. But 28th it will be clear. The intention would be to first understand the demand. So it will be a phase of booking and then delivery.
Right.
And it's not far away, of course.
Okay. My final question would be on the current demand trend that you're seeing in the market, especially when it comes to the sentiment in rural areas versus urban, the buyer behavior. We're seeing customers move from hatchbacks to SUVs. Do you think this trend is only going to continue? And how does the demand picture look like in the rural areas compared to urban right now?
You know, rural areas should be even more stronger, I would say, in the H2, and it has been pretty even, I would say, urban-rural. And as far as we are concerned, about 38% to 40% of our sales come from rural area. That has been also doing good, but I would say, you know, it is also because we have expanded more aggressively in rural areas in the last 1 or 2 years. So we are seeing that demand at an industry level. I would believe that it is not very different.
Luxury car maker Mercedes-Benz is all set to roll out its first locally assembled electric vehicle by the end of this month. We spoke to Martin Schwenk, the MD and CEO of Mercedes-Benz, about their growth strategy in calendar year 2022 and also about the tragic road accident involving Cyrus Mistry and 3 others just a few days back. Listen in.
So far the year has been very strong. Our demand is extremely high. We have sold more than 30% cars than last year. We have an order bank of more than 6,000 cars. So the unfortunate part is at the moment not on the demand side. We're still having some issues with supply, semiconductors, missing components, which holds us back. But overall, I'm very optimistic. I think we will be able to make our best year ever here in India. It could be even better if we had not the concerns I was just talking about. But overall, very positive demand, also continued demand into the festive season. So the story is more for us to actually get the cars out of the production and to the customers than getting the customers at this stage to be interested in our cars.
How many more products can we expect from Mercedes-Benz for the India market in this fiscal?
I mean, we usually don't look fiscal. That's why we have said around 10 cars this year. We'll get just about to that, I guess. Yeah. So we have another 2-3 models coming for the balance of the year. The biggest one, obviously, is what we do by end of the month. Then with the locally produced EQS 580, our first locally built electric car, top range, as you know, from what the S would signify. So that is probably what we focus now most on. Production ramps up for that at the moment, and that's for us now, after having introduced recently the AMG version as an imported car, now the local car, that's for us certainly the highlight for the next 3 months.
About the unfortunate accident involving the death of Cyrus Mistry a few weeks ago, that's put a big spotlight on road safety, on vehicle safety. Give us a sense of how you are cooperating with the government, with the authorities, and how Mercedes-Benz is reacting to what happened.
Yeah, I mean, let me say first, it's obviously very tragic, the death and the accident itself. On the other hand, I have to put it into the context of road fatalities in India itself. We have in the years usually around 150,000 people dying on the roads. A lot of that is related to behavior and maybe not enough focus and enforcement of existing rules. And I think our role as anyone in the public space is also to create awareness that the adherence to regulations and to behave accordingly is extremely important, as much as is enforcement of existing rules and laws. We have for sure provided access to any information that is needed. We have brought a specialist team from Hong Kong in. What usually happens in these cases when it's a complicated or a high-profile product liability question, we also get global experts involved, and Hong Kong is a part of the global team here, and they come then in and they do assess and they assist in not only analyzing the data but also in providing information to the authorities as required. And I can just say we have strong confidence in our cars, and we provide every and any information that is required accordingly and support the investigations around that. I hope that we can avoid future incidents with that.
That's all we have time for on this special broadcast. From video journalist Lakshman and me, thank you for watching. Goodbye.